Hey everybody. Okay, so all right, so now we are uncovering another layer of where I'm going to have to change a little bit of the outcomes that we're looking for. So if you have surface marker antigen, that can be purged because it's antigen. All right? It's the antibodies that are created. So if you have AB positive, that is antigen, surface marker antigen A, surface marker antigen B, and then you have the antibody, which makes you Rh positive or Rh negative. Okay, so if you tested positive for an Rh antibody, you will always have that antibody. You probably always be positive, which doesn't mean anything. It just means that you have the antibody, but it's not manifesting into a disease. But if you are AB, that surface marker antigen, you can change that to O because it's antigen. It's the Rh factor is what probably won't change if you've been exposed to it. Now, if you've been exposed to it and you don't have it, then I'm wondering if what causes a positive on a test is the amount. See, what constitutes a positive? Because you can't get rid of the antibodies ever. You can't get rid of them ever. But maybe what makes a person positive is the amount that then will constitute into a specific issue. So when someone says that, well, you don't have enough antibodies to give you protection, you only have a small amount of antibodies, we need to increase the antibodies. That's like the peanut allergy immunotherapy. Okay? Yeah, the peanut allergy immunotherapy, they're now creating more antibodies to go after those peanut allergens. And so an increased amount of antibodies is what they're looking for. So it's about antibody count. So if somebody tests negative for something, it could be the amount of antibodies that are present. Because I can't imagine in our society with how prevalent we are in just our mixing in with different people that we haven't been exposed to every single disease out there. But maybe it's the amount of antibodies that are present is what would cause then the different characteristics of cancer, disease, and chronic illness. So I want to thank you, Masa. Even though I've been like kind of on you about the whole anti-vax, you brought up a very, very good point when it comes to the blood types. Because now if somebody goes, let's say this. Now this is another experiment, you guys. If you are O positive or you're AB positive, and then you turn into A negative, that would then probably be relative to the test. The test is what's saying that you're positive or negative. Because I guess they say that even when you have antibodies, they may not show up. You may have been exposed to something, but they may not show up. And the only time that they show up is if you have been exposed and those antibodies increase to go after the pathogens. So there is that. So to come up positive or negative on a test, it may have to do with the antibody count. And why they're saying, well, a titer test will show you what you're positive for, but it may not. It may, if it has to do with count, if they're saying, well, for you to be protected, you have to have like 20 antibodies instead of 5, then you got to now go and energize your immune system with these pathogens to then create more natural immunity, right? It really, when you think about it, you can't win for losing when it comes to their specific tests, because their tests are programmed for an outcome and for an intention. So no matter how many times you get injected, no matter how many times you're exposed to a pathogen, okay? And if you've already proven that you have enough antibodies already, thanks, Masa, then you already have the proof. You don't need to prove it again. So you've been exposed to the pathogens, you have a major antibody count that will then pass all the tests that are required out there. You will then do J-juice and then dilute the antibody count. And then here's the thing. Then do another titer test, because I think it has to do with count. It has to do with count. It really does. Then do another titer test to see, and maybe you can ask, when you test positive for something, is it because that you've been exposed at one point, or is it the amount of antibodies that are present at the time of testing? So, but here's the thing, just go and, do the protocol. I mean, and I say forget the test, because you live and die by the tests, it's irrelevant. Okay, so Masa, even if you tested yourself, it doesn't mean anything, because tests are there to have a specific intention and an outcome, and there's to serve a purpose. When you do J-juice, all those tests are going to be irrelevant. But the reason why you're doing the test is because you're trying to prove something to somebody who has an already condition set. So the government has conditions set to then be able to cater to the lowest common denominator out there. Okay, and they say, okay, for adequate protection, if you're going to mix in with the population, you have to have this many antibodies present to show that you have protection. Thanks, Bon Jovi. Thanks, guys. Okay, and then after you've proven that you have these antibodies present at the time of occupation, or you getting a job, or at the time of where you're enrolling in school, then you're done. Now you go drink J-juice, dilute the antibodies, fix the mutations, and everybody's happy. Until another disease comes out there and you have to go get a vaccine for. Okay, fine, go get the vaccine. Who cares? Drink the J-juice. Fix the mutations, dilute the antibodies. Yeah, you have it. But when you test positive, like when you test positive for AIDS, maybe we've all been exposed to AIDS. I know you do the best you can, but maybe you've been exposed to AIDS, but it's the amount it's the amount of antibodies that what causes the positive or negative outcome. I know you do, and maybe it's best, Masa, here's the thing. Maybe you just need to relax on the anti-vax approach. Just relax on that. Just do the J-juice. And then when you actually have a major testimony, you share it. Because the less you say is more. Because when you actually share something, it's going to be more profound than all of the little things about anti-vax and other things. Okay? Sometimes when I don't have anything to say that's really going to be helpful, I don't say anything at all. And then when something strikes me, then I'll go and say it, and then it's pretty profound. Okay? So sometimes less is more. Sometimes you just get off the activism, do the J-juice, be the actual testimony, and then your testimony is going to be that much more. It really, and that could be another way to attack this. So you're not desensitizing your friends. You see what I'm saying? I just about something on the feed. I was just thinking about accumulation. Yeah, of course. About something on the feed, just was thinking about, thinking of the accumulation of antibodies and what happened to the period. Yeah, when you get a stroke or when you get a heart attack, it's because you haven't diluted the antibodies and they're attacking and chipping away. Right, I understand. Chipping away at his weaknesses. And so, yeah, when you have a weakness, it's going to cause then a heart attack or a stroke. So that's why J-juice levels the playing field. So you don't have to worry about antibody count. You have to worry about antigen or this or that or anything. Right, making the blood thick. No different than taking an AB positive blood and giving it to an O negative person. So what would then cause a person to be O negative? Well, it's relative to how the conditions on the test. See, everybody's making up stories that, oh yeah, when you're Rh negative, it means that you're the Nephilim. It means that you're an alien. No, it means that there's somebody that put the conditions on the test to make you positive or negative. It's not like you're taking a test and you're looking at your own results, or you would have the conditions set to say even just one antibody is positive. Maybe what positive equals in the biotech is having 20 antibodies present to make you positive. Anything below 20 makes you negative. What about when you're testing for drugs, illicit drugs in your job? Well, they know everyone's been exposed to pot in some way. If you've ever smoked pot, you always will have the THC antibody. But when you go and get a drug test, they look at how many antibodies are present at the time they're taking the test. And if they see there's an increased amount of antibodies, then that equals positive. Versus you only have one antibody because you took that drug 1,000,000 years ago, or you washed your system out to dilute the antibodies. And so now you test negative. Okay, Masa, so this is for you. Testing positive means that you may have still an increased amount of Rh antibodies, the Rh, the antibody, and that you need to then, maybe those conditions are set to where now you have to drink more of the J juice to then decrease the antibody accumulation. So you'll never ever get rid of the antibody, but the positive and negative may have to do with the antibody count. And actually, I really believe it. Actually, it really is. Because if everybody took a drug test as far as marijuana, everyone would fail for the most part. Somebody's been exposed to somebody that has taken marijuana in some way. Yeah, this hormone, I'm sure the hormone shots. And you have to keep doing the J juice. And you have to do it at the level of like such, you got to be really, really aggressive with J juice. And I know you're working. So I get it. I know you're working. And so, you got to balance all of that out. But positive and negative on a test, on a titer test or any kind of drug test, it really has to do with the antibody count, because you never get rid of the antibody, but it's the count that makes it positive and negative. You got to do more than 4 cups, Masa. You really should probably do, if you have time, do a half a gallon. Try to do at least, 8 or 9 cups in one sitting. You got to up the dosage. That's not enough. 4 cups. That's 1 quart. You got to do way more, especially if you have a lot more mutations. You got to up the dosages. You got to increase. Okay, so if you've plateaued where you're not seeing any kind of change, and you got to increase your dosages. And maybe you do, a quart a day, and on the weekends, guess what you do? You do like a half a gallon. Hey, you got to heal more. I know you heal a lot, but you got to keep pushing the envelope. You can't plateau. Because what happens is the environment and everything else starts redoubling its efforts to then keep you at a certain level. What are we shooting for? Well, you know what you're shooting for. So anyways, I know you'll try. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, okay, so positive and negative, when it comes to antibodies and when it comes to RH, the RH factor, when it comes to blood types, is how many antibodies are present that makes you positive. How many antibodies are not present that makes you negative. That's it. Okay, so we just figured this out. So don't look at, because you're positive, it means that, because that's the thing, is that when I say you never can get rid of antibodies, you can never get rid of antibodies. You can never do that. But it's the amount that then causes the positive and negative on the test. That's what I'm saying. If you live by the test, you die by the test. Those tests are intentional. There are conditions set that you have no idea what they are. Don't go by test, you guys, as a measure of truth or fiction. Tests are conditional. They are based upon somebody's intention with a specific outcome. Tests are not something you live and you die by. All it is for the industry to kind of measure where you're at with everybody else. That's it. Tests are not something anyone should ever live and die by. Ever. Okay, I gotta go. Talk to you guys later. Bye.